Hello students, today we will try to understand the structure of the brain. Yeah, even before a child is born, the baby will be having a neural tube, yeah, which starts out as a very tiny and a ribbon-like structure. So that happens by the end of the first month of pregnancy. So even before the child is born, this neural tube will have initially will have three swellings, yeah. Those three swellings will further grows into different swellings. Say for instance, the three swellings that we see in the initial neural tube of the fetus will be one which constitutes the forebrain later, one which further develops into forebrain, and another one is the hindbrain. These three swellings will further have more swellings, like forebrain will have two more swellings, which further one develops into telencephalon, the other develops into diencephalon. The midbrain swelling will have a two more swelling, one which constitutes mesencephalon, one more swelling. Then the hind brain will have two more swellings, one which constitutes metencephalon and myelencephalon. So forebrain will have two more swellings which constitutes telencephalon and diencephalon. Midbrain will continue to have one swelling which is mesencephalon, and hind brain will have two more swellings which constitutes metencephalon and myelencephalon. All these constitutes different divisions of the brain later. So, from anterior to posterior, these five swellings compose the developing brain at birth. They are telencephalon, diencephalon, mesencephalon, metencephalon, and myelencephalon. Basically, encephalon means it is within the head. So, all these swellings will ultimately develop into different divisions of the adult brain. So this is how it is. Forebrain is telencephalon and diencephalon. The midbrain is a mesencephalon. Hindbrain is metencephalon and myelencephalon. As we can see in this diagram, the telencephalon is one area of the brain which undergoes the greatest growth during the development. All other four divisions are often referred to as the brain stem. All these collectively constitute the brain stem of an individual. Only telencephalon constitutes the cerebral cortex of the brain. So first let us try to understand what is a telencephalon. As I said, this is one area of the brain which undergoes a lot of development even after birth. This is the largest division of the human brain. This is the one that mediates the most complex functions of human being. It is the one that initiates voluntary movement. It is the one that mediates complex cognitive functions such as learning, language, problem solving, reasoning, decision making. Any higher order cognitive function is generally mediated by telencephalon. So, what exactly is the cerebral cortex? The cerebral hemisphere is covered by a layer of tissue that is called as cerebral cortex. This cerebral cortex is basically made up of axons that are not, neurons that are not myelinated. They are unmyelinated neurons. Because they are not myelinated, they appear gray and are referred to as gray matter. In contrast, the layer beneath the cerebral cortex are made up of neurons that are myelinated. Because of its myelination, it appears white, hence it's called as white matter. Remember, cerebral cortex is a layer of tissue. One that is made up of unmyelinated neurons are called as gray matter, and beneath that, which is made up of myelinated neurons, are called as white matter. This is how it looks. It's a layer of tissue. Yeah. So, as we know, in humans, this cerebral cortex is said to be deeply convoluted. So, what could be the reason of its convolution is they have tried to understand it in a way such as it helps in increasing the amount of cerebral cortex, the extent of cerebral cortex that we get because of its convolutions, without actually increasing the volume of the brain. Without actually increasing the size of the brain, we actually get a larger surface of cerebral cortex. It is like folding the paper into small foldings, so that even a big paper having a huge surface can be folded into a smaller size. So it's said to have deep convolutions. But not all mammals have convoluted cortex. Most of the mammals have smooth brain. Earlier, it was believed that deeper the convolutions or the more number of convolutions the cerebral cortex has, the more intellectual the person is. But later now they have realized the number and size of cortical convolutions is more related to the body size of an individual. They've also observed even many large mammals have extremely convoluted brain. Yeah. So let us try to understand few terms before we get into the details of different other structures of the brain. So when we are trying to understand more about cerebral cortex, there are terms that we use such as fissures, sulci, gyri. We need to know what each one refers to. So as I said, this cerebral cortex has deep convolutions. Those which are large and deep furrows in this convoluted cortex, they are called as fissures. Those which are large and deep, they are called as fissures. Those which are small and shallow, they are called as sulci. And the ridge that happens between these fissures and the sulci, they are called as gyri or gyrus. So we need to know three terms: fissures, sulci and gyri. All these with reference to the type of convolutions. If it is large and deep, it is fissures. If it is small and shallow, it is sulci. And the ridge between the fissures and the sulci, they are called as gyri. So, the cerebral hemispheres are almost completely separated by the large fissure. Among so many fissures that we have, the largest one is the longitudinal fissure. This is the one that separates the cerebral hemisphere into two parts. One is left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Even though this fissure separates the cerebral hemisphere into two parts, it has been connected by few tracts which spans from left hemisphere to right hemisphere. Yeah, that is called as cerebral commissures. The tracts that connect the two hemispheres of the brain, they are called as cerebral commissures. That is basically tracts. The largest cerebral commissure is the corpus callosum. Yeah, this is the longitudinal fissure, as we can see, which has separated the left and the right hemisphere. It's a deep and large convolution that we can see. There are several other fissures that we can see in the brain. One is lateral fissure, yes, and central fissure. There are several gyrus that we can see. Yeah, trying to understand some more landmarks in the brain. The two major landmarks in the brain is central fissure and lateral fissure. As I said, the largest fissure is a longitudinal fissure. Two other fissures that we can see is central fissures and lateral fissures. These fissures actually divide the hemisphere into four lobes. What are the four lobes that the brain has been divided, and how it has been divided? It has been divided based on the fissures. These fissures actually divide the brain into four lobes. Those are frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and occipital lobe. Those are several gyrus that we can see. That is a ridge between the seizure and the fissures is the precentral gyri, the postcentral gyri and the superior temporal gyri. So as I was talking, these fissures divide the brain into different lobes. It is important to understand that cerebral lobes are not functional units. It is not like each lobe has a specific function to carry out and it is independent of other lobes. No, it is better to think of cerebral cortex as a flat sheet of cells that just happen to be divided into lobes because of the pressure causes it to be folded on itself at certain places during development. So the function of lobes are not independent of each other. They are not a functional unit having one set of functions. Thank you.